Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this morning's very special NHS Recruitment Transformation webinar. I am Giles. I'm going to be your host for this morning, and this webinar is being hosted by Jobtrain. More of Jobtrain in a second, but just to say, really pleased to see that so many of you signed up for this morning's session. It's been a particularly popular one. So I hope that this morning's session is one that you're going to come away from invigorated, inspired, informed, with lots of takeaways and what have you. What I'm going to do first before we get started with introductions and things is just going to check that everybody can see and hear us okay. If you could just pop something into the chat if you are on Crowdcast, and also if you're on LinkedIn as well. I'm sure that somebody like Jules is going to pitch in a second and say, yep, great, brilliant. Thank you very much. Right, we can get started. So in terms of just a quick introduction, so at Jobtrain, just to give you a little bit of history about us and who we are, we have been delivering innovative recruitment software solutions now for about 25 years. So you've been around a little while. And the reason why we're here and the reason why we're so passionate about the NHS, not least because our founder, Chris, actually works within HR and the NHS for a long time. But about 6-7 years ago, we were selected as the sole partner to deliver recruitment software across the whole of the NHS in Scotland. So we're really proud to do that, and we've had a really successful relationship north of the border, and it was quite a natural move for us to see if we can't help and support for NHS recruitment in England, and that's kind of brought us to where we are here today. So we are now very much the alternative, and there are alternatives to NHS Jobs and Track, and you know, we've spent a lot of time, a lot of energy in developing our solutions to really deliver and make sure that we can provide a completely seamless recruitment experience for everybody. It doesn't matter if you're a candidate, a hiring manager, or working with the HR and recruitment team. I'm Giles. I'm Director of Strategic Development here at Jobtrain. I've been working really hard with our NHS clients and with the broader NHS as well. So without any further ado, this morning's session is very much going to talk about recruitment transformation, and I am delighted to be joined by Jamie and Jay. Could I ask you both just to introduce yourselves to everybody? I'm sure that Jamie and Jay will be known to quite a few of you, but just in case you haven't met them before.
Go first, Jay.
Yeah. I'll go first then. Okay, so Jay Patel, Strategic Resourcing Manager. I head up the recruitment team at Leicestershire Partnership NHS Trust.
And I'm Jamie Coates. I'm Head of People for Resource and Retention at the Princess Alexandra Hospital, and we're based in Harlow. So I look after resourcing and temporary staffing, as well as a bit of retention.
Brilliant. Excellent. Now, I'm hoping for everybody's benefit here, somebody's just started drilling outside our office here, so I'm hoping that you can't hear that, but if you do, just give me a shout and I'll just switch my microphone down, because this is very much about you two and not about me. So we'll get started. So we are here this morning to talk about recruitment transformation. I guess I've got a question for you both, because the answer might be slightly different. I'll probably start with you first, Jamie. So what prompted you to consider a new approach for recruitment for the Trust?
Yeah, so I'll probably give a bit of background. So we are in the middle of implementation with Jobtrain. So, but what made us decide to do a new approach? We recognised that our current system and processes were no longer reflected our ambitions as an organisation, both in a digital or candidate experience setting. Our processes are quite rigid, outdated, and not as inclusive as they can be. Particularly while we're trying to recruit from our local community and into them entry level roles within the organisation. So our current platform didn't really allow us to tailor experiences by staff group. It didn't really support skills-based hiring or deliver the kind of candidate journey that we and also candidates expect in 2025. So we were looking for a system that was flexible, inclusive, and also better aligned to our people strategy and our Trust digital roadmap.
Well, thanks very much. And how about you, Jay? What prompted the change?
Yeah, so ours was slightly different. So we had a significant increase in the volumes of work based on the organisation being acquired to deliver new services. And as a result, recruitment numbers shot up to record numbers. that had a negative impact on the increase of time to hire, negative candidate experiences, hiring manager and the recruitment team. And some of the bits of feedback that we were getting were duplication of data due to multiple systems, multiple information flows, negating or having a poor candidate experience, and the lack of visibility on the process. So we did take some short-term measures, and that included adding in extra headcount into the team, looking at automating some parts of the process, but we needed a long-term sustainable solution. And the key areas of focus were reducing time to hire, improving the experience for the recruitment team, hiring managers and candidates. It had automation built into it, and it was a unified, flexible system that would be fit for the future.
So you were both working across different systems or processes, or probably spreadsheets as well beforehand. Is that right?
Yeah, so I think we were building, so especially within our organisation, we were building things outside of the system to make things easier. For example, we developed our own e-form through MS Forms for people to complete their new starter forms, but then obviously that doesn't automatically feed into systems. So that is another key driver, as well as actually not having to build things outside to make things work. So yeah.
Similar here in terms of we had e-forms, we had like using WeTransfer, we had our own in-house Microsoft Access database that would tackle some of the contract and the onboarding side. So it was just, I think we added up about 10 or 12 different systems just to do recruitment checks. And as you can imagine, multiple points of data entry and just not talking to each other, leading to inefficiencies.
That's a lot. And I have to say that I've seen, since we've got involved within the NHS and recruitment, we've seen a lot of very creative systems and ways of managing different parts of the recruitment process. But I guess if you're managing different systems or different tools or spreadsheets and stuff, then that can be a bit of a barrier or a bit of a blocker. Is that right?
Yeah, and it's also around, and Jay just mentioned it about data input. So if you're looking across various systems, we don't have the automation where it will just kind of lift and shift into ESR. So, there it is prone for errors and things like that. And also actually things taking longer. So a big part of it was integration with the systems that we use. So for our ID check-in, we use Trust ID. And actually at the moment, what will happen is, offer letters get sent out, then the team have to send a link out, then we have to download, upload, and all of that, and that then increases the time. So you need to wait for a human to then enter that onto a system, which is why we're looking for things that are more integrated with other systems that we use.
And to add to what Jamie said, I think the other part that we saw was when you have new starters coming into the team that have got to learn a lot of systems, it's really hard to understand, okay, when do I step off this system onto system B? And then what do I need to do in terms of data entry? So it was really hard for new starters to get up to speed with multiple systems as compared to now, which is a lot quicker, a lot easier.
Yeah. So I guess in summary, you both had a vision for how you wanted recruitment to be managed. You certainly had a vision for how you wanted to improve the experience for everybody that was involved in the recruitment process. But you could quite easily see the barriers in terms of too many potential points of failure or at least delay between working across different systems to manage a recruitment process end to end. Is that fair?
Yeah.
So with that in mind, Jay, sort of what strategic metrics were you tracking sort of before you implemented a new way of doing recruitment, and then after in this case, after you'd implemented Jobtrain?
Yeah, so a couple of metrics. So the key one being time to recruit and the time to do the entire process and the time for recruitment checks to happen. Alongside that, we were tracking metrics for hiring manager, candidate and recruitment team satisfaction, both through surveys and also regular listening events to get that qualitative feedback as well around how does the process feel. Alongside that, agency spend was a key factor and a key driver across not just our organisation, but NHS organisations across the country, and our vacancy rate as well due to the increase that we had. So those were the four things that we were tracking.
How about you, Jamie? I mean, obviously you're not post-implementation yet. So in terms of just to position this a little bit, Jamie sort of a bit more than midway through the implementation with Jobtrain. I think you're actually getting the point now where you're doing sort of review and sign off sort of towards the end of this week, aren't you? So we've completed our setup for you, but you probably would have measured quite a few things beforehand. You may have some expectations of how that's going to improve post implementation.
Yes, very similar to Jay. We do all of that, but again, it's through potentially different systems. So we have a survey that's done by an external provider and things like that. But what I'm most excited about is the EDI data that we're going to be able to pull out of the system. And actually, it's not going to be, well, for my vision, it's not just going to be an annual thing where we do our res and we do our des. I want to do that quarterly, and I want to have, set targets with divisions around that as well, and having that more visible. At the moment, we run it once a year. We have an action plan against it, and then we hope in a year that it gets better. And that's not how we should be working, I don't think. So I'm really excited about that piece, as well as actually measuring kind of dropout rates. I find it very difficult in the current system to how to pull that out of the system, and also getting use of talent pooling and things like that, and actually talent pooling with the system. So there's lots of really exciting things I'm excited for post implementation, but just a couple of weeks or just over a month left.
Exciting times. So Jay, you've actually started to implement talent pooling in a bid to reduce reliance on agencies and be able to be in a position where you can take a bit more of a proactive approach in terms of having different groups of people that might be good to go. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've started to build up our talent pools, and especially it's really good for events that we do. So every year we do a large event and we have over 1,000 attendees, and it's just segmenting them and then keeping in touch with those individuals is really helpful for future opportunities that do come up. So I think that helps us to kind of know what talent we've already got, and the flexibility of that is great because we didn't have that feature before.
Cool. So we're in a world at the moment, and this isn't specific to the NHS, but the NHS is probably feeling it more than anybody else in terms of everybody's being asked to deliver a lot more with a lot less. So I guess that the process of saying, well, we want to do something different, and potentially that might be an investment behind that if we want to move systems. So I imagine for NHS Trust, for example, that might be using NHS Jobs to manage their recruitment. That's something that's just available for free. And for those that are using Track, then I think Track's generally offered a fairly competitive rate in terms of the licenses, for example. How did you bearing in mind that these two ways of managing recruitment are sort of so embedded within the NHS? How did you go about getting buy-in from senior leadership and wider teams for taking a slightly different approach? To Jay.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, great. So I think we had a business case almost play out in real time where it was, and if I'm being honest, it was a very challenging time to work in the team. So it was difficult in terms of we had a lot of escalations. The candidate experience was really negative, and hiring manager experience was as well. What we ended up doing was we had the data, so we had time to recruit and we had graphs showing it going up. We had all the surveys and stuff showing the negative nature of it. We then put together a quality improvement workshop with the recruitment team and hiring managers across the organization around what can we do. And that really helped us to collectively as an organization, not just as a recruitment team, but with our stakeholders, come up with some solutions. And one of the key things out of that was we need a ATS that has everything in one. And then we pitched that and took that to exec for sign off. So I think that the stakeholder engagement was a key part of it, and we had everything play out in terms of the metrics weren't great, and that enabled us to then drive and get buy-in from senior leaders. We need this, and this is the long-term sustainable solution.
How about you, Jamie?
So we were in a sort of slightly different position because we do have an ATS, I think, and actually. Can say this. There's additional add-ons that we have on our contract, which actually obviously bumps up the price. So our current system provider supports us with offer sending and kind of interview setup and all of that sort of stuff. So we are going to be bringing that back in house. But what was one thing I was clear on is that although we'll bring that back in house, I don't want it to be as admin heavy as it previously was. Because we initially did it all within the recruitment team, and then it went out, and now we're bringing it back in. So the system had to be more intuitive. But how we positioned it with kind of senior leaders and with the wider teams across the trust is, we positioned it as more as a solution to on several kind of our pain points. So kind of ineffective processes, limited visibility, and kind of poor hiring manager and candidate experience, while also aligning it to kind of our trust strategic priorities. So that's our trust strategy, our digital strategy, and it also aligns with the NHS long-term workforce plan, us as an organisation being an anchor organisation for our local community, and also is nationally reducing agency expenditure and temporary usage. So similar to Jay, I ran some engagement sessions, or some structured engagement sessions with our people team initially, and then extended that out to divisionals, finance, procurement, our ICB colleagues, our IT, IG, and all of them users are now helping us shape the current state of what the new platform is going to be. So it's about selling the story. So really, what is the benefits that you're going to realise from this, and what are the and there is lots of data you can pull out from different parts of the process of dropout rates, how many times you get re-advertised, and all of them sort of things. And actually, it makes a big case. It did in ours.
It's not dissimilar from any other sector looking to buy tech. It's identifying what the particular points of pain or what are the problems that we've got to solve. How does this project or the goals of this project align to the strategic objectives of the organisation? Getting all the right people in the room quite early on and aligned, and not catching anybody out further on down the process. They say, "Oh, hang on a second, what's this that you're looking to buy? And what's going on? And why haven't I been consulted? And why don't I know anything about it?" So I think you do all that up front, and definitely knowing your numbers. I know that can be sometimes a bit of a challenge around reporting, but at least you have your basic sort of baseline measurements in terms of things like time to hire, ED&I, that kind of stuff. And I think you, Jay, you'd already got quite a lot of data in terms of the experience of the different user groups. So that's candidates, hiring managers, and recruiters. So that's what gives you your base point. And I think there was some opportunities for improvement, should I say? Is that fair?
Yes, significant opportunities, and we'll talk to some of them and how they've materialised shortly. But I think it's important that there's qualitative and quantitative data, so that the numbers then match the narrative. It matches the stories that people are saying on the ground, and they're tied in, because numbers are great, but it's how do people feel about a process, and what impact does it have on them? And I think that was key of getting both of those elements together for us.
Definitely. I'm just going to pause at this point. I don't know if we've seen, so we're running 2 polls at the moment within this session for those of you that are joining us on Crowdcast. If you just go to the right hand side, there's a menu bar. Do get involved, because we've got some data coming through already, which is probably interesting. So the first question that we're asking in the poll is, which recruitment transformation is your top priority? And at the moment, there is a really clear front runner, and that is reducing time to hire. So clearly, that's a big point of pain. And funny enough, improving candidate experience. This is already aligning with the goals that you both had at the outset of these projects as well. Cutting spend is in there as well, but reducing time to hire is definitely winning. It's great people are getting involved now. Thank you. These numbers are ticking up. So we're already about 70% of people in this session want to look at reducing time to hire. And then if you look at the second question we've got within there, what's your biggest barrier to transforming recruitment in your trust? So right now, the front runner is, no surprise here, budget. So we've just touched on this a little bit. We maybe might dig into that a little bit more. And then lack of digital tools, or an outdated recruitment system, or ATS. So those things seem to be things that are coming through. Any thoughts from either of you on these poll results and what you're seeing? Jamie, I'll go to you first.
So yes, budget is a big one. So we had to try and we had to use tools in our toolbox to try and make sure that was all okay. But yeah, so what I've done, or what I'm doing within our organisation, is making sure that I'm bringing the managers along with us in the journey. So I've held some workshops on how we're going to redesign the application process and all of that sort of stuff. But yeah.
How about you, Jay? Anything that stands out for you?
Or I think
familiar with what you would have expected.
Yeah, I think budget's an interesting one, and some of the metrics that I'll talk to in a sec is just how we've helped position it. So we've had, for example, cost savings that have offset the cost of the product that we've now been able to demonstrate in real time. That before it was we needed extra heads to deliver the administration, but actually now, because of Jobtrain and its automation and its unified system, that administration isn't needed, and there's a cost saving that we can demonstrate and we have across the organization. So it's almost thinking 5 steps ahead of, yes, there's an investment, but actually how do you recoup that investment and then pitch that to the relevant stakeholders? And I guess us as a case study of we have actually done that and delivered it, and it is achievable.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this session is very much about sort of, finding solutions for, those key stress points, reducing time to hire, improving experience, reducing admin time, all these types of things. So building business case can be a bit of a challenge, and I think I've worked within the recruitment industry for more years than I care to remember. But I know that recruiters today, the roles become more and more complex. So we're expected to be marketeers, we're expected to be data scientists, influencers, all these types of things. And then there's this scary prospect of potentially buying or investing in technology. And nobody's ever trained for that, right? So it can be a little bit of a daunting thing to take on. One of the things we do at Jobtrain across the whole of our customer base is we're trying to help sort of reduce any points of friction around that and help inform people a little bit. So you'll notice if you're on Crowdcast, there's a little button at the bottom, which is kind of a bit of a blueprint for how you might go about building a business case for investing in recruitment technology. Jamie, I've shamelessly stolen some aspects of your brilliant business case that you got approved at Princess Alexandra. So I haven't referenced you specifically, but there's a little bit of plagiarism in there. But it was a business case that was really well put together and obviously delivered in terms of the outcome was you got the investment that you needed in order to effect some recruitment transformations. So that was good. From a return on investment perspective, there's so many different measurements and elements that can contribute to return on investment. You got your big ones, things like empty chair or saving in admin time or headcount and all these types of things. And obviously agency spend is a big one, but there's a lot of factors to consider within that. So we have, and happy to send out afterwards, we've actually got a return on investment calculator, which can help a little bit. So all you can do is you just punch in where you are now in terms of time taken for different tasks or investment for different areas within the recruitment. And then it'll give you an idea about how much you can expect to save in terms of recruitment teams' time, clinicians' time, but also actually, cashable savings as well. So if that's of any help or of any interest, then do let us know. I think we might have.
On that point, because I just wanted to say, because obviously, I know I'm happy to share my business case with anyone that's kind of interested, but there was massive support from the Jobtrain team in developing that to make it to get it to where it was. So just thanks to the team at Jobtrain.
That's all right. I can see we've got a question there from Kelly. Is DBS integrated or do you need another contract for eDBS? Do you want me to answer that one? Or you...
So that was one of my key ones was I couldn't implement a new system and then have systems outside of it. So luckily, working with Jobtrain, they're actually integrating with Trust ID, and Trust ID will pick up the DBS element, is what I understand. So the ID verification will be sent out from the system, and then obviously then follow through with the DBS application. So yeah,
that's absolutely right. I think Trust ID will probably across about 120 trusts at the moment for ID verification, pre-employment checks. So we have been working really closely with Trust ID to provide a completely combined and integrated solution for both ID verification, pre-employment checks, and DBS. So all of that is both initiated within our Jobtrain platform, and obviously candidates then complete their checks online in the normal way, but all of the results come back into Jobtrain as well. So it's completely seamless. You don't need to leave the system. Within Jobtrain, we have an onboarding and compliance platform where you can track every single element of onboarding compliance. It's a lot of moving parts. So all of that is done within a single dashboard. So you can see very quickly what checks have been returned and come in, what need verification and what have you. So it's really easy to follow. I'll say that actually. I mean, Jay, you can comment probably better on that because you're using it.
Yeah, and I think I'll take a wider point because I think Jobtrain as an organisation have been really open with developing additional relationships as well with your open APIs, and I think that's helpful in the future. So yes, you've got the current integrations, but if we did want to look at an integration with, I don't know, a learning management system or an health provider, etc., that is something that we can have conversations with you about, and I think that's helpful. And that's when I talk about a future-proof product. We're able to do that if we want to in the future.
Yeah, it's quite a topical question coming in from Neil. I've still got questions for you too, but I want to try and fill these questions as they come in. So from Neil, do any of you use AI RPA and does it integrate with Jobtrain? Jamie, I don't know if you want to go first. I've got plenty of answers.
Yeah. So the plan is for RPA. So I had initially started it with the current system, and what I realised is actually we would change the system then, and actually, do I need to build? That was the thing that I spoke about earlier. But do I need to build all these processes outside of the system to make it better? So the plan is, once we implement. I know that the ESR integration is a lot stronger with Jobtrain, and then we'll see what else do we need to build in RPA. So we do have that team within our organisation. But the big one that I am looking at the moment is AI. So I am working with an external company on AI assisted shortlisting. So we have run a pilot around that, and the results have been really outstanding, really, from what's come through. But the plan is then, like Jay said, to speak to Jobtrain and see how that could potentially be integrated, or how that would potentially look going forward. But that's the big ticket one for me. That's hopefully next year. So yeah.
Any comments from you, Jay, before I weigh in on that one?
Yeah. So I think the key part is you need RPA if you've got multiple systems to help. But with Jobtrain, because it's integrated, you almost don't need it because of how you build it and the automated messaging and this reporting, etc., that it happens with it. We are looking forward to AI, and I don't know if, Giles, if I can say around the update that went out this week around AI as part of Jobtrain and supporting, and this is literally, I just read this at the start of this week, so I haven't got all the details, but it was AI to help advert creation for hiring managers. And I think that's something that we're really, really excited about. I mean, I think that will help. So hand over to Giles if you've got more details on that.
Yeah, I have. So, Jay, you couldn't answer that question any better in terms of RPA. So everything that, and we spent a lot of time, both trust level, ICB level, and with NHS England as well, and everything, and actually some other sort of supplementary providers offer consulting services and things. And I can see that RPA is used really extensively, but it's not necessary. So when you're managing an end-to-end recruitment process in a single platform, which is what we offer, RPA is not necessary because you don't have anything to automate. That automation is inherently there within the system. We've taken a different approach in terms of the ESR integration, in that I think we're the only provider outside of NHS Jobs that has got we'll call it it was like a two-way integration with ESR. So we take position numbers in right at the very, very start. So that's all automated and done. There's an area we can check all of that, and then we push data out. But it's almost like a real-time integration with ESR. So you're getting feedback all the time in terms of how that's working. So end to end, there's no automations required there. And in terms of AI, yeah, I mean, we've got a number of different elements through our platform. Jay referenced automatic advert creation with automatic bias checking within there. You can change the tone, the sentiment within that as well. And you can also feed into and define the different elements of a person spec or other elements of the vacancy itself that influence that advert creation. We found, we talk about candidate experience. We live in an age of visual media, and all of the data that we have points to candidates being more engaged, more informed, more excited when an advert is supported with either video, which is the best thing you can do, or with images that support that, just to bring it to life a little bit. we found that a lot of our customers really struggle with creating images. So we have an automated image creator as well that can support with building out content on your career sites. Because Jobtrain, we have a career site builder, so you can build your wonderful career sites, landing pages for different campaigns, all this kind of stuff. And we can also automatically generate suggested assessment questions at the point of creating a new vacancy, or just generally within Jobtrain. And we use AI for that, because it'll look at the person spec, it'll look at the organizational values, behaviors, that kind of thing that you're looking to measure against, and then suggest assessment questions that you can then build into the application process, or actually any other part of the hiring process. But we are huge fans. We've seen a huge uptick in the usage of, candidates using AI as part of their application process. So where there's a personal statement or an open-ended text box or what have you, it's very easy for candidates to simply copy and paste into ChatGPT and stick their responses in. And then, surprise, surprise, you end up with maybe 30-40% of your candidate responses all saying exactly the same answer to the same question. So that's a problem, and it's a challenge, and it's difficult to objectively assess anyway. So we are big fans of actually using scored questionnaires, either based on skills, competencies, values, or a combination of all of those as part of the application process. And then that automatically scores the application. So even if you're dealing with high volumes, you've got a score against every single applicant, and it gives you an idea and allows you to apply almost like the 80-20 principle. So you're focusing 80% of your valuable time on the top 20% of candidates, but making sure that everybody else that perhaps hasn't been successful gets that feedback really quickly. And they have a good experience of having applied to your organization, because employer brand is really important, right? And so is the candidate experience, but it also reduces that time to apply. So we tend to split the application process into two parts. So you have a really nice, simple, easy to complete on a mobile phone, first stage application, possibly with some assessment questions, and then all of the compliance information you like, so full work history without gaps and all those kinds of things, is something you can ask at a later stage of the recruitment process, and that really helps with both candidate experience but also conversions as well. And finally, around integration, we integrate with lots of systems. We have quite a big marketplace, about 50 different systems that we integrate with, but we also do have an API to integrate with other systems as well. So Jobtrain plays quite nicely with third-party systems where we need to. Got a question from Stella here. Can you expand on the Jobtrain integration with NHS Jobs? We've had an integration to NHS Jobs, Stella, for quite a few years now. So in essence, when you, at the point of vacancy creation, you can post directly out to NHS Jobs. And offline can give you a lot more information about our ESR integration, but ultimately it's almost like a 360 integration. So, you can, when you create a post on the ESR, it comes into Jobtrain, and then we can push full candidate information back out. So we've worked really hard to make sure that's as seamless and as much in real time as possible. And happy to talk to you offline about other systems as well. Yeah, no problem. So without further ado, should we move on? So obviously, Jay and Jamie, you're at slightly different points. Jay, you've been live with Jobtrain for a year now.
Yeah.
What, and I might ask for Laura's help a little bit here. So I've got Laura from my marketing team in the background here with some stats and what have you. But Jay, what were the top sort of measurable wins post-implementation that you've seen? I think there's been a few.
Yes, absolutely. And there'll be some stats that come up in a sec. But one of the key areas was our time to recruit was one of the key objectives of why we got Jobtrain, and that reduced by 40%, and that is continuing to reduce. One thing that we've seen is Jobtrain has helped us to build resilience into the team. So over the winter period, we had a period of unavailability in the team where we had quite a few people off, but that still enabled us to be resilient as a team and not have that shoot up. But time to reduce 40%, recruit 40% reduction. Cost savings as well have come into this. So we've reduced the admin that was required in legacy process. Admin staff were needed to help input data. Jobtrain removes that need. And we've also not backfilled leavers that we've had in the team. So overall, we've got an annual saving of around 90k, and that includes the cost savings that I talked about, but also we put a monetary value on the time saving that it brings about. So some of the time savings that are in here as well. So talking through one of them. So our contract production process, for example, it's now 28 hours per month quicker than the legacy process was. And if you add that up, and especially if you have large volumes, that makes a big difference on the ground. And that 50% reduction in admin time is related to administering the legacy vacancy control process compared to now, which is a significant reduction as well. Attached to that, just because it's on the screen, but we trained 500 hiring managers in the space of 3 weeks. And the rating for that training was 4.5 out of 5. And I think that was over around 5 or 6 sessions that we delivered. So those are some key areas there in terms of other measurable wins. I think the experience improvement is also key. And we noticed this improvement across hiring managers, candidates, and the recruitment team. So on every metric, and we looked at, surveying the recruitment team of the advert process or doing the recruitment checks or the communication, on every metric, Jobtrain scored higher. And you could talk to the team and they will talk to you at length around the benefits and why they like Jobtrain. So cost savings, time efficiencies, and experience improvement are the 3 areas that we've seen significant improvements in.
That's brilliant. Thanks very much, Jay. We do. Jay's got your own deck in terms of a lot of the process you went through. We have been working together actually to produce a bit of a slightly more condensed story in terms of the process that you've gone through and some of the outcomes that you've realised. I know that's with you at the moment for review, but if anybody here would like a copy of that, it's pretty easy to read. Then I'm sure that at some point we'll be able to send that out to the attendees today. We've got quite a few questions that I somehow have missed here. So am I right just to do a bit of a quick fire with you both? The first one I'm going to answer is, will there be a demo of the system in this session? No, there won't be. However, Amanda, 2 things: that we can send out a very quick video overview, but we have a plan. If there's a desire here for people to see Jobtrain in action, then we'll probably look to run some more live sessions where you can answer questions as we go through, so that you can basically book in on one of those sessions, and then we can run some live demos for anybody that's interested in seeing exactly how this works specifically for the NHS. The next question from Amy was, how does this system differ to Track? So this is going to be one for Jamie.
It's completely different. So it's completely customizable, and I think that's the main thing. So if I just give you an example, I am, our application processes have always been very rigid, and I think that was always come from kind of the NHS Jobs days, but when they moved to Track and all of that sort of stuff. So we're still stuck in the time where you have your supporting statement, and that's, we don't really tell people exactly what to put in there, but, then we have to make a judgment when we come to shortlisting. So part of this, our system implementation is I'm completely customizing the application process by staff group and banding, and aligning that to the NHS national job profiles, so that we're looking for the skills, we're looking for the experience per grade, per staff group. So there's that piece. The data piece is completely amazing. I think that was another thing that sold it for me. I can't wait to start getting these reports out. You build the report yourself, or Jobtrain can support you. You can get that emailed to you every day at a certain time, all of that sort of stuff. So I'm really excited about that, because I have a lot of my team specifically during the week building reports, sending them to managers, asking them, why are you taking so long doing this at X, Y, and Z? And that time is going to be a massive time saving for us. As well as like Jay said, I mean, he's saved a lot of time already within his team. That's what we are looking for. I always say with the current system, it's kind of, we're pushing buttons to get candidates through a process. Whereas this process won't be that, so it won't be as administratively heavy for our hiring teams or our recruitment teams, and that is one of the big pluses. There's lots of pluses, but that's a couple of that spring to mind.
Dave, from your perspective, having moved away from NHS Jobs, how does Jobtrain differ to NHS Jobs?
I think the key part is what Jamie touched on, is the flexibility and customization. So if we wanted to change something, we can. We had feedback on one, we were split into directorates or business areas, was like, can we have our own bespoke vacancy approval process? And it's like, yep, and I can build that myself. we've got feedback from the organisation around pushing out more stuff around reasonable adjustments throughout the process, and that feedback came. And in real time, as I was on the call, I could amend the messaging and signposting if we wanted. So that flexibility and that future proofing, I think, is key. The other part is the features that always come up and the improvements to the system. So, for example, right now we're working on the redeployment module and how that looks to help us tackle the current situation that we've got. So flexibility, customization, and the future-proof nature of Jobtrain are key.
Got one other example, actually, which is probably quite topical for everyone. So, if that's all right. Obviously, nationally now we need to report our time to hire. So that goes into our PWR. And, you know, we are allowed to exclude international newly qualified and all of them from that. The way the system is built for our trust, I can't easily pull that data out of track. I can't remove them without reconfiguring the system, and that it will be quite a lengthy process. With this, I'm working with it with Jobtrain during implementation, but I should be able to just click exclude, and that report will be a lot easier and simpler for us to report nationally. I mean, there's a massive drive to reduce our time to hire, and the figures that I'm sending at the moment aren't reflective of actually what we're doing. So I know a couple of instances within organisations within our ICB that are in the same position as us, and then we're being meeting with our kind of regional teams and saying what you're doing to reduce it down. And actually, I'm you know, the narrative is not reflective of, because I can't remove it at the moment, and there's no point doing it for a moving system. So yeah.
I think you said it best yourselves. I think the key differences that we're seeing is there's a lot of flexibility within our platform. So about 90% of the setup work or configuration that we do work with a new customer is actually available to users, albeit, you know, people with the right permissions. So if you want to create any number of different application forms, you can do that and configure that yourself, and you can have different application forms for every type of role you recruit for, rather than sort of one size fits all. There's no charges for that. It's something we can support you with, or something you can do yourself. Same with assessment forms. Same with managing all the onboarding components. And Jamie, you're right, from a reporting perspective, we deliver all our solutions with a whole raft of sort of pre-configured dashboards and reporting, but we have a really flexible business intelligence and report builder platform as well. So you can actually configure all your own reports. You know, we do have standard res and des reporting and NHSE time to hire reports, which is a standard within our platform, but you can create and have any kind of number of reports that you might want to have within it. We do have sort of fairly high level comparison sheet between Track and Jobtrain. So if you're interested in that, we can probably, I hope I'm going to ask Laura and Alex that are behind the scenes to perhaps post a link into that within here. There was a question as well about the ROI calculator. We're happy to send that out after this session. It's available on our website. I think it's actually due to go live today. So that's quite a new one because we've just adapted it a little bit. Question here from Zoe. If you don't use Trust ID, is there another way to do the DBS within Jobtrain? Trust is happy to see the original ID is Jobtrain, a counter signatory. We're not a counter signatory. We do, and I think this probably answers another question further down, is that we work with the likes of First Advantage and Trust ID, and they are the counter signatories rather than us doing that. Always happy to look at additional integrations. I would say that the Trust ID one is really nice because it's so seamless and it's inherently baked into and built into our onboarding and compliance platform, so you can track everything in one place. So that's kind of the key benefit there. Just have a quick look through, make sure I'm not missing any questions. Does the system interface with NHSJ? Some adverts can be posted to it. No, but we will look into that, Kelly. So at the moment, we've integrated with all the key systems, but wherever we find something else that we think can, reduce admin time, improve automation and things, we're always really happy to look into that. So we can take that one away.
I think that might have been NHS Jobs.
Oh, is that NHS Jobs? Yeah. Oh, I was looking at NHS Journal, but yeah, we're integrated with NHS Jobs. So that's fine. Thanks for correcting me there, Jamie. I'm just trying to fly through these questions. The percentage reductions in time to hire, impressive. What point in the process do you measure that from and to? What was your starting figure and what's the current figure with the percentage reduction you cited? And does that include all staff groups, Jay? And Carolyn.
Yeah. Of course, I'll take a couple of that. So does it include all staff groups? Yes. Percentage. So the starting point is when a manager tells us that they're ready for us to start the recruitment checks. They made the verbal offer. They then change the status on Jobtrain. It comes over to my team, who then start the process. The end is once the compliance checks have all been completed, and we then tell the hiring manager to reach out to the candidate to agree a start date. So that's the start and stop of the clock. I guess that our most challenging, the figure that we had was around 60 days or so. The one that what we currently got to is within our service level agreement of 36 days, but in the last few months, we've actually got down to sub 30, so around 29 days. So the stats I sent over to Charles can be improved given where we've got to the last few months. So yeah, I hope that helps answer all parts of that question.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Okay. So what I want to touch on is also user experience. So we talked about candidate experience a little bit and how that's been improved, but perhaps can be a little bit more specific in terms of what the candidate journey looks like now and how it differs from what it was like before. And also I know sometimes when you're implementing a new system or even implementing a new process, the other users, so those outside the recruitment team, such as sometimes might be HR or quite often hiring managers, how have you managed to engage with them? What has the response been across the board? And how have you ensured that they've been engaged and actually interested and excited by a new system, as opposed to thinking, oh, here's something else I've got to learn how to use? Because I know that can sometimes be, because hiring managers aren't necessarily recruiting every single day. And clinicians' time is incredibly valuable. So if you could talk us through sort of the process you've gone through and what the response, reaction and feedback has been, that would be really helpful.
You want to go, Jamie?
You want to go first, Jamie?
Okay. So initially, this was before we kind of signed contracts and things. I did a call out to divisions asking for recruitment leads or to be nominated recruitment leads to come through and have a demo of the system. So that was the pre bit. The second bit, I went out to all managers and I said, help us shape our new recruitment system. And this was post kind of contract signing. I was actually really impressed with the amount of people that were interested and wanted to come and do a session. So that was a really, really positive. So I think in the end I had around 50 or 60 people that nominated themselves that wanted to come through. And that's when we did the application design process. So we did a workshop on and making sure that because like I said, I'm going to do staff group specific and grade specific application forms. So that was him helping design it along the way. But I'm keeping that kind of cohort of people for anything else that comes up in implementation, and also the kind of demoing now that the system's been built. So that's the plan, to keep them engaged throughout the whole of the process. So because we know, I wasn't here when it was implemented last time, but we know that the engagement probably wasn't where it should have been when we last implemented. So that's a really key objective for this implementation, and making sure that people have a voice on what's being built and what people will be using to recruit people going forward.
Well, thanks, Jay.
Perfect. So I think ours started as part of the business case that played out. So stakeholders were involved of, this is the problem, this is our current situation, this is what we don't like and what we'd like to change. And then we got them involved as part of user acceptance testing when we were involved in the implementation of Jobtrain. So they got to play in the demo environment of, how do you load an advert up? How do you shortlist? How do you interview? And we used their feedback to then improve the process. So there was always involvement throughout. And then when we went live with the system, I think what we did is create demand by having limited training sessions that were available. So didn't do them for like 3 months. We had them for, I think, was open for about 4-6 weeks or so. But we also used that to cater to different learning styles. So we did live sessions, we did recorded sessions over MS Teams. We did very many step-by-step user guides of hundreds of pages with loads of screenshots to help individuals who like to see as they work through, and offered process flow documents and optional Q&A sessions. So it was catering to support individuals. And I think that's why we had so many managers that signed up for training so quickly, so 500 in 3 weeks, and the rating was 4.5 out of 5. Overall, I think the words that they've used to describe the process have been improved, easy, visibility, and time reduction. And what we are doing is getting their continuous feedback through the recruitment team. Go to monthly workforce meetings, which I'm sure may exist in other organizations as well. And we use that as opportunities to get feedback and then bring about changes, and then doing a you say we did. So we had some feedback around can they have more guidance on the shortlisting and interviewing process? So we looked at the guides, we enhanced them, took it back and said, you asked, and this is what we did. Are you happy with it? And we continue to do that. And again, the customization and flexibility of Jobtrain allows us to do that. Hear the feedback, change it, go back and tell them what we've done.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. And I think, yeah, you're right, Jay. I think when it comes to hiring managers, it's about setting the scene way ahead of time so people know there's a change coming, what that change is. Everybody's learning styles are slightly different as well. So having that blend of some people will want to get involved in a really detailed user guide. Some will just want to see an overview video. Some might actually just want to call in and speak to a member of the support team. So within Jobtrain, we provide online support, but also telephone support. So it doesn't matter if you're a candidate, a hiring manager, or in the recruitment team, you can actually speak to a human, and we're there to sort of help in that sense. So, I think that blended approach kind of helps a little bit, coupled with it being almost a process of continuous improvement. So as Jay said, just being flexible. The implementation of a piece of recruitment technology is not something that should be held in aspic. It should be something that is dynamic. I think Jamie, you and I were having this conversation yesterday. It's just because you go live with a certain setup of it, you're going to learn lots as you go through. Your own wants, needs, demands, reactions to changes, demand that a recruitment system should be able to be flexible enough to be actually be configured in slightly different ways. And actually your own sophistication is going to improve as well. So as you do that, then again, the system needs to be able to continually be updated and innovated to support those changes. So, you both work with Jill within the Jobtrain team. So it's Jill as a success manager is designed specifically to support our clients, and especially the NHS clients, with continuous improvement, success, all those types of things. So, the support's there if you need it. I know I've got some more questions coming through as well. I'm just trying to make sure I'm keeping on top of them all. There's a couple more questions around time to hire. Do you manage time to hire in average or median? From Claire.
So it's average is what we measure.
Yeah. Are any outliers removed from this data for time to hire?
No.
No. This is a question on the LinkedIn screen from Martin. Is Jobtrain able to integrate with multiple ESRs? Yes, it is. We've done all that work. And so, for example, if you were looking at a regional recruitment solution where you had multiple trusts within, let's say, one instance of Jobtrain, we can integrate with multiple instances of ESR. So we've done all that work already. That's available right now. So we can support regional solutions as well as individual trust solutions. I'm going to ask Alex Laura here. I've probably got some more. I've got some more questions here. It's like, can we integrate with OC Health systems? Yes, we can. James sort of tentatively nodding there. I've been mindful of the fact that the OC Health systems themselves sometimes charge an awful lot of money for integrating with third-party systems, but yeah, we absolutely can. Jobtrain is set up to integrate with third-party systems seamlessly like that. Are we working on integration with Track Jobs? No, we're not. In the nicest possible way, Jobtrain almost exists within the NHS as a competitor to Track Systems. So it's quite unlikely they'll probably want us to integrate with them for their job board, but we actually have got our own. So we're now populating that with all the NHS trusts that we have. So we're actually operating our own sort of almost like aggregated group of jobs and things for the NHS. Can Jobtrain automatically score applications or provide a percentage match against the job requirements? Yes, Jobtrain can automatically score applications, but we do that based on defined groups of either values or competencies or skills, but we have a really flexible scored assessment form builder. You can even include images, timed questions in there. We can randomize questions because of the usage of candidates with generative AI as part of their applications. does Jobtrain have the capability to detect or flag these, or at least help us assess the authenticity more effectively? So whilst there are tools out there that can do that, we don't tend to employ them within Jobtrain because we're encouraging people to move away from personal statements, cover letters, open-ended text boxes, and actually, as part of delivering a more streamlined candidate experience by using things like really simple score questionnaires with no more than 10 questions. That can be done really easily on a mobile. It can be completed in a fraction of the time it takes to complete, a full application form. So we're far more a fan of having more objective metrics that are scored in that sense. And then that's worked really well for many years now. So that's kind of the approach that we take within that. Any comments from either of you, Jamie, Jay?
I might just come in on that point as well, because in my sessions with the hiring managers, I've been really clear with them because obviously we are removing the supporting statement, but I've said I want quality over quantity, and I think I did a review of how many applications I think we had over a 3-month period for healthcare support workers. That was over 2,000, and in our current application, I mean that would have been multiple managers that had to shortlist that. So it's that time saving as well. So actually, again, talking about the benefit, but the benefit is moving away from that supporting statement, making it tailored, and actually getting the information that you need, and be able to score in a shortlist in a defined kind of framework. And that's the other piece. At the moment, we just let managers say what they want to score against, and does it match the person's specification, or do we have to go in and check what someone's doing, sort of thing. So having that being built in the system will make it more inclusive. It will make it easier to score and assess, and hopefully reduce down the time that hiring managers have to shortlist against people. And I am really excited about the timed assessments and also the scoring assessments. So that's something definitely that we'll be looking to build into our system.
Yeah, I think accessibility and inclusion are really, really important, especially from a candidate perspective. There's a couple of things from a Jobtrain perspective. We've been independently audited by Shaw Trust for our accessibility, but increasingly all of our sites are designed with a mobile first approach, which might not, you'd think, immediately play to inclusivity, but bear in mind a lot of people only have access to a mobile in order to apply, book in for interview, manage their onboarding online. All of that can be done using a mobile phone via Jobtrain, so it's more inclusive by design. But we also, a lot of our customers use the accessibility and inclusion toolbar. So page content can be translated in different languages, read out loud, page contrast, all those things can be adapted and changed to make sure that the process is as inclusive as possible. But then finally, that time to apply and the amount of information that's being required by somebody at application stage needs to be kept to as far as possible, so like almost under 5 minutes. Because then if you're on a bus and you lose your mobile phone signal, then you've got that frustration and that concern. But being able to complete, an application form really quickly, it's in plain English, it's easy to follow, it's relevant for the role that I'm applying for. Hence, we support different application forms of different role types, all helps a little bit. Michael's just saying he needs to jump for a 12 noon call, but I'm glad. Thanks very much for your feedback, Michael. So we're kind of coming to the end now. Thank you, everybody, for all of your questions. I think there may even be 2 more that snuck in. We might be able to just look. I'm scrolling through. Does Jobtrain offer CV passing functionality? Yes, it does. In short, we've offered it for years now, and it's designed to take a lot of the heavy lifting out of completing application forms and things. So yeah, we absolutely support that. But thank you to everybody that's joined us this morning. Thanks for all of your questions, and a massive thanks to you, Jamie, and to you, Jay, for your time. I know you're really busy. Hopefully a little less busy after implementing Jobtrain, but thank you so much. I think there's quite a few questions. We'll follow up with everybody that joined the session this morning with bits and pieces, whether it's things like comparison sheets, ROI calculators, a little bit more information. We've got a little bit of a guide around AI and applications and how to combat that bunch of stuff. So we'll send some things out afterwards. But thank you everybody for your time this morning, and hope to see you again soon.
Searching for a modern ATS that's engaging, intuitive, streamlines recruitment to put service at the heart of everything? Welcome to Jobtrain, where we redefine recruitment management. We're not just the true alternative to Civica Track and NHS jobs. We're a game changer, especially when considering the cost to save in recruitment processes. With everything you need included as standard, our applicant tracking system is a one-stop platform. It's where trusts and hiring managers can manage everything, from advertising roles on NHS jobs to streamlining assessments, onboarding and compliance checks like DBS and digital right to work. It's all here. Plus, our real-time ESR connection simplifies processes even further. And our expertise speaks for itself. We're the trusted ATS partner for many NHS England organisations, as well as NHS Scotland and their boards. Purchasing Jobtrain is simple too, thanks to the G-Cloud framework. With matched flexibility, our platform adapts to your style, offering the customisation needed for your unique application and recruitment processes. Plus, with our seamless API integration, your must-have tech connects effortlessly with our ATS. Stay in the loop with our Insights dashboard and track key metrics from bottleneck reports to time to hire. Managing applications? A breeze. Need more info? Just click on the candidate's record. Let's talk shortlisting. Not only do we handle the standard process, but we also offer panel and anonymous options, essential for many sectors. And let's not forget, candidates want to know what sets you apart. That's why our career sites are designed to help you stand out in the talent market. And the best bit, you manage it all through a user-friendly CMS.